Hi, everyone, and welcome to StudioJake. I, of course, am your host, Jacob Airy. Welcome to this vidcast where I talk about all things pop culture from anime to television to sci fi to novels to films. And like I said before, it's been rough. If you're a nerd these days, it is so hard. Ever since X Men dropped, and then, of course, the Dark Knight trilogy and the MCU, it's been great because now nerds have become mainstream, but it's been terrible because now nerds have become mainstream. And what we're seeing in a lot of franchises, Doctor Who, He Man, Batman, and Star Wars, we're seeing a bunch of people who don't appreciate the lore, the backstories, the mysteries, the core values that are instilled inside of a franchise. And like I said, Star Wars is one of the biggest ones. Now, I talked about how Ryan Johnson's trilogy has officially been canceled, but now they're saying it could be back on. We're going to see a new Star Wars movie with Rey, which I talked about, where they're going to bring back Rey Palpatine and have her do what Luke should have done and relaunched the Jedi Order. And we all heard like all these crazy stories, these big time announcements of films and TV shows at this year's Disney Star Wars celebration. And the only one that I'm really even excited about is Visions. Although after watching the teaser, they're not just making Visions anime anymore. They're bringing in other animation studios. I might do a video on that on why I think that's a bad idea, but that's not for here. What I want to talk about is the Acolyte. So Star Wars The Acolyte is a series that is basically made by Harvey Weinstein. And then, I mean, Kathleen Kennedy brought in one of Harvey Weinstein's insiders to create the show, a woman named Leslie Headland. And no, I am not convinced that she didn't know about Harvey Weinstein. His behavior was so pervasive, it was an open secret in Hollywood that they even joked about multiple times at the Academy Awards. So, no, I don't believe she didn't know anything. Now, I'm not saying she did anything criminal, but she did know about Harvey Weinstein and she did nothing about it. You can't convince me otherwise. I don't care what she has said or whatever other people have said. Hollywood knew about Harvey Weinstein and they did nothing. They did nothing. Even people who knew did nothing. And it's just absolutely ridiculous. And so the fact that this woman now has control over the Acolyte is just an embarrassment. And also, Disney is being sued because they hired a showrunner to help run it, and then they breached their contract. They offered her a paltry $5,000. I don't know if this, for some reason, originally it was going to take place. There were rumors it was going to take place during the days of the Old Republic or maybe during the Sith War. Now, apparently, it's going to take place during the High Republic. And so that's basically in between or I should say just before the prequels, the High Republic. So Yoda is now the head of the Jedi Order, but you don't see characters like say Plo Koon or Mace Windu yet. They're still out there doing Jedi things, and the Acolyte. The trailer for it hasn't dropped as of yet that I'm aware of, but they did do a panel at the Disney Star Wars celebration. And it just goes to show you how they're hiring people who know nothing about Star Wars, who aren't familiar with the lore, probably never watched the movies, not even the prequels. They just watched the Disney films. And so they think that they know everything. And just these absolute ignorant statements from cast members, from writers. It's just an embarrassment that this is what Disney thinks of this franchise. So, what am I talking about? So, and this is from Bounding Into Comics, by the way. Head over to boundingintocomics.com. They have fantastic news articles about what's going on in the world of nerd. But anyway, in this article by, I want to be sure I give the writer credit, John F. Trent, he was talking about how some of the stars of the Acolyte, they were doing a panel, and you see again just the ignorance that these new casts and writers have towards Star Wars. It's just mind blowing. So, um, star what's his name? Star Charlie Barnett or Barnett, whatever, Charlie Barnett. He was asked during the Disney Star Wars celebration to describe the Acolyte in less than 5 words, which he didn't do, but this is how he responded. I would say a battle for power. He then continued, I mean, the best parts about Star Wars is there is no good or evil. It depends on what side you are standing on truly. He explained, you can look at any angle and see yourself relayed through all characters, Darth Vader to Luke, you know what I'm saying. Barnett then went on to provide more details on how the Acolyte reshaped Star Wars. This show is about the balance of power and balance of good versus evil, and realizing so much of it starts at the root, truly. Oh my gosh. What an embarrassing, ignorant statement to make about Star Wars. From the inception, George Lucas always meant it to be a battle between good and evil. The light side of the Force is good, the dark side of the Force is evil. There's no such thing as gray Jedi. There's nothing. Now, Jedi can become Sith. Sith can be redeemed and become Jedi, but there's none of this in between crap where, oh, we're going to say that this is how it's supposed to be. If you don't believe me, here is Abounding in the Comics once again quotes George Lucas on American Voices during that appearance in 2012, according to the article. And he was asked about this, and he said, well, the conflict between good and evil is the basic conflict. The universal question is, am I a good person? But of course, that's a very complicated question. It's something you have to ponder because you're doing it every day. You're saying, should I do this? Should I not do this? Lucas later detailed, to me, it's really about a compassionate person as opposed to a person that is consumed with self-interest or a selfish person. Those are the two things. We all have good and evil in us because we have the selfish side and we have the compassionate side of us. The idea is, how do you keep those things in balance? And by keeping those in balance, you can do a lot of good things. You're never going to get everybody's human, everybody's greedy. When you become greedy, then you do bad things to get stuff from other people. Once you get stuff, then you become afraid. Once you become afraid, that's going to take it from you. Then you start striking out at people, and you start getting angry at things, and you get worried, and that puts you into a whole psychological mindset that turns ultimately into an evil person. Where you're doing horrible things to people, thinking that you're doing the right thing, but you're doing it because you're afraid, and they're going to hurt you before you hurt them. So there you have it. It's about the journey of becoming a good person or an evil person. There was no in between. He did talk about keeping your life balanced, but he didn't mean I'm going to balance evil with good. That's not what George Lucas said and not what he meant. And it's just embarrassing that Disney has come so far that they can't even get the basic core value of Star Wars correctly. They cannot just say this is a battle of good versus evil. That's why they had to make Reva, the Inquisitor's sister from Obi-Wan. She couldn't have just been, an evil, dark force who's trying to track Obi-Wan because she wants to prove she's better. She wants to be the Grand Inquisitor. Instead, she has to be this girl boss who secretly wants to kill Darth Vader. So she's willing to do some evil things to get to him. But ultimately, she's a good person. No, she's not. She's a murderer, a mass murderer, who didn't deserve a redemption arc. There was no basis for that. But no, because Disney's like, oh, everything's in balance. Good balances out with evil. Absolutely, it does not. That is not how good and evil works. You're either good or you're evil. And, sometimes good people do the wrong things. Sometimes evil people have a moment of generosity. But one thing that George Lucas understood, which is why I like the prequels, is it shows that slippery slope. So you make one compromise, and then you have to make two, and then you have to make four, then 8 and 16 and 32 and 64 and 128. And next thing you know, you're a totally different person than when you first started on your journey. And if this is the direction that Acolyte is going to go, where, oh, well, maybe the Jedi aren't so good. Maybe the Sith aren't so evil, then this destroys the framework that Star Wars was built upon. It is heading towards Star Trek level cringe, and we have to be careful. We have to make our voices known through boycotts and refusing to engage with this stuff. Now, I might watch The Acolyte just for reviewing purposes, like I did with Obi-Wan, but I have no intention of otherwise giving it a megaphone. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you'll give it a thumbs up, that you'll leave me a comment and tell me what you think, that you'll share it out with your friends, and of course, consider subscribing to StudioJake. I cover all kinds of nerd and pop culture topics, including film, television, anime, comic books, and so much more. I hope that you'll also head over to my main website, StudioJakeMedia.com, where I have even more news, views, and commentary. Also, if you'd like to support the channel, head over to my locals page. That's studiojakemedia.locals.com. It's the best way to support me. I'm trying to build a little community there. I have exclusive reviews and articles, so definitely head over there and check it out. And I'll see you next time right here on Studio Jake.